Hello, my name is Judah Mark Sorokin, the narrator of Judah Nature Films. A month ago, I've made Australia 1, but there's still a lot more animals to see on this video. Australia is the smallest continent, but it's one of the most impressive I've ever been to. More impressive than North America. 80% of its wildlife is found nowhere else on Earth. And some of the best zoos and aquariums that were difficult for me to go to over a decade ago. A perfect place for wildlife, big or small, keeping animals from being extinct. And the cities, animals must prepare to make a living here. For 11 years, my whole life was in North America and didn't left the continent. But that all changed. In 2023, I first met Australia and went again in 2024. This is the smallest continent on the planet, but it's one of the most impressive. And the most popular city is Sydney, home to about 5 million people. And 80% of its wildlife found nowhere else on Earth. And there's one place to see its marine life. This is Sydney Sea Life Aquarium. Most of the creatures are found in Australia. Jet-toothed penguins. These are the world's fastest penguin. Easy to find in an aquarium. In the wild, they do have jet-toothed penguins in Australia, but they rarely breed in this continent. The aquarium is a wonderful home for these penguins and tests their skills. And unlike the penguins in the wild, they're not threatened by leopard seals. Or they have no threats at all. Some penguins like to take a dip, but also being chased by their rivals. But either way, they're just playing. These penguins can go about 20 miles per hour. The poles may be a good exhibit for penguins, but there are mostly tropical animals in the aquarium. Many tropical animals are found in Australia's coral reefs. In this spot of the aquarium, home to a massive fish. An eagle ray glides through the aquarium, about 3 meters from wingtip to wingtip, and 5 meters in length. In the wild, eagle rays cruise for the ocean. Most be on the sand. Like manta rays, this species of eagle ray cruises through the open ocean, but for a crustacean eater, they don't eat plankton. But some do enjoy the sandy areas, including this part of the aquarium. What's interesting of aquariums is that they hold some of the most impressive, some big fish. Like sand tiger sharks, 3 meters in length. In the wild, they're usually solitary, but aquariums make them to be in groups. It's also known as the ragged tooth shark. Their teeth, you could be seeing them when their mouths are closed. But outside the aquarium are more interesting animals. Outside the aquarium is the city of Sydney, the largest city in Australia. Famous for the Sydney Opera House. A popular place for thousands of people. But also there's a place where you can go where to find animals in Sydney, the Botanical Gardens. The Australian white ibis. Once a cheerful scavenger, soon it's found a new diet. They find food near picnics and bins. Sooner it's now called the bin chicken because their new diet is from bins. And sometimes they can squawk like a chicken, and they're willing to fight for those food. But sometimes they prefer to get along. But still, they're stealing from picnics in the Botanical Gardens. Some bin chickens are heading to a place where their usual diet is. A lagoon where tasty invertebrates lure. And they are not allowed. Other birds come in. Pacific black ducks come to this lagoon too. Many will stay to raise their young and plenty of food to feed them. But for others, it's just a pit stop for a journey. The largest to arrive has the largest wingspan of any Australian bird. the Australian pelican. A few miles from the lagoon, Kiama, a popular place for pelicans. They soar with their 8-foot wingspan. They also take Kiama as a pit stop for a journey. But they're not the only big thing that comes to Kiama. The smooth stingray. It's huge, about 4 meters in length. It's unusual to see big creatures in water that's a few inches deep. They come to Kiama to feed, find a mate, but the most important, hide from predators like the great white shark. No wonder a small coastline attracts such big animals. And the stingray's not alone. Others arrive too. Dozens of stingrays come to this harbor each year. The smooth stingray is a large fish that comes to the harbor, but from above it, there are large birds. The stingray is the largest stingray in Australia, and the pelican is the largest flying bird in Australia. And they both come to Kiama for the same reason. Mostly to feed. But the wings is not the only one that makes the pelican spectacular. It's also the beak. Australian pelicans have the biggest beak of any bird. About 20 inches in length. A perfect weapon for sniffing out fish. These pelicans are living by cities where there are less fish to be here. So to survive, the pelicans must change their behavior. They also travel sidewalks like humans do. Near where I stay in Australia, some city places can grow flowers. Beautiful. And like the flowers in the wild, they have pollinators. One of the best is the honeybee. She's trying to get enough pollen to make honey. Most flowers are planted to help bees make their honey. And that is how honey was made. And the honeybee just needs to get the ingredients in the market where it's free. But a trip in the store is no walk in the park. Luckily, thousands of bees in one hive make it quicker to get the best flowers. But on the bottom of The flowers lie other creatures. The skink, about the size of a finger or two. It's on the search for ants, but it's not here to eat them, but to steal. It needs to take some greens, but the ants must beware. Even they might end up in the skink's stomach. Crime done, he walks up to the ants like a giant dragon, but with no wings. Just looking for more. His eyesight is poor, so he only relies on his forked tongue to pick up scent. Another backyard, home to another species of skink, bigger than the one in the other backyard. And they don't take kindly to ants. But even for a big skink, they have to find cover to be safe from predators like eagles. And here, the lizard would be safe. The wild is a good place for animals, but it's not always easy to find them. To find more than a dozen species, we have to travel to captivity. This is Symbio Wildlife Park. Home to some of the icons of Australia, like the true sleepyhead, the koala, mistaken as a bear, but in fact, it's more related to Australia's famous kangaroos. Symbio is more of a zoo. Koalas are held in captivity for a good reason. Koalas are one of the most endangered animals in Australia. So some have been held in captivity to breed them, and the young ones will get released. So a cute, slow, and sleepy creature will not be extinct. And that's why zoos are here, to prevent animals such as the koala from being extinct. Koalas are in a family called marsupials, also known as pouched animals. And koalas feed only on eucalyptus leaves. But not all marsupials are herbivores. In this exhibit, there's something lurking. The Tasmanian devil. 12 feet at the shoulder and only 26 pounds in weight. They're one of the smallest animals in Australia, but they are the largest carnivorous marsupials on the planet. So not all marsupials are herbivores. Tasmanian devils are one of the few animals that have the strongest bite for its size. Once in the wild, these creatures are found most in the Australian mainland. Now they're only found in the Tasmanian island. Cute but ravenous creature. The newest animal in Sydney is the smallest penguin on Earth. The little penguin is more than a foot high and weighing about a couple dozen pounds. Unlike gentoons, they commonly breed in Australia. But like the gentoons in the aquarium, they're not threatened by leopard seals and symbio compared to the wild little penguins. To the world's smallest penguin, to Australia's biggest bird, the emu. A 6-foot flightless bird and weighing about 120 pounds. They're omnivores, prefer to eat plants, fruit, insects, small reptiles. At Symbio Wildlife Park, they can graze on the grass or get fed by humans. Most animals in Australia are cool, but the emu is one of the most top Australians. And the main bird of the continent. And there's lots of these main creatures. And this exhibit in Symbio is a perfect place for one of Australia's rarest birds. And even here, it's hard to spot it. The cassowary, the second largest bird in Australia, and Australia's heaviest. And like the emu, it's flightless. Its kick is so powerful that this is actually the world's most dangerous bird. But being held in captivity, human visitors are safe to see such an elusive creature. Especially for cassowaries, Australia is home to some of the most dangerous creatures on Earth, like the red-bellied black snake, one of the venomous snakes on Earth. But being held in captivity in Symbio Wildlife Park, it poses no threat. But it has some relations of snakes living in the wild to stay healthy. The snake has shed its skin. Unlike lizards, which shed its skin in multiple pieces, snakes only shed their skin into a single piece. With the snake growing, there's going to be plenty of snake skin in this exhibit. And the more they eat, the more they grow. And the more they grow, the more they shed their skin. In the coast of Kiama, there's joy and happiness. And birds of many kinds come here. Including the pelican. Kiama is a great place to see pelicans, but there are other places where they can come in great numbers. This is Lake Illawarra, a salt lake near the city of Walgod. Pelicans come here too, but not just one or two. But about 20. Like the Kiama ones, these pelicans are here for the same reason. In this phase, are waiting for humans to pass over it. But they don't seem to get their reward. But there are other ways for pelicans to get their food, rather than just wait. The disgusting one is getting the trash. And pelicans are willing to fight for it. And defend. These two ways are new to the pelicans. The old tradition, fishing, with the world's largest beak of any bird alive today. So pelicans are changing their behaviors in order to get food. Magnificent birds. And these new skills will prepare for the pelicans for the future ahead. Some animals in captivity, like in Symbio, change their behaviors to make a life in here. Another icon of Australia, the wallaby, the size of a big rabbit. Like the koala, it's a marsupial, and they're herbivores. And they're fast, bouncy fellas. To be here, they change their behavior. They don't need to travel far to get to the freshest grass, because it's all around them, so they don't have to migrate. The rains that fell months ago have grown green grass to feed a mob of wallabies. The grass is fresher, and the wallabies appreciate it. This place can also attract animals from the wild. A family of Australian wood ducks. They're wild, but took a pit stop here to raise a family. They found a pond, but surrounded by a fence, and getting there is impossible. Mom and 5 ducklings made it through, but Dad and his other 3 are still trying to find a way in. If his ducklings may not reach water soon, they will not survive. Dad can fly over the fence, but he can't leave his flightless children. They just have to find the biggest hole. Two made it. The last one's trying to find it a little struggling. They join with their other siblings and head out to water. Now, Dad can fly to them. Soon, when the ducks are mature enough to fly, they'll leave Symbio. Symbio has many icons of Australia, including the greatest of them all, the kangaroo, the most iconic animal in the continent. Unlike wallabies, they are larger, but they do bounce and they're marsupials. This green grass was brought up by the rain, and the kangaroos in Symbio Wildlife Park can enjoy. And they don't need to travel far like those in the wild. The first time I visited, the green grass was only a little bit green, but it was sustaining the kangaroos as well. But it was raining a lot. The kangaroos are soaked, but still bouncing away. And also, they can also get their food from humans, including the visitors. The kangaroos keep grazing in check, and more grass to grow. And the rain helps too. And it's paid off. The grass like this, when I visited again, looked like more grain to feed the kangaroos. Before I was 12, all my life was in North America. But a few weeks before I was 12, that changed. I visited Australia. Each adventure I take, I find new animals that I've never seen. My favorite continent is Australia. But I've only seen a small percentage of animals in Australia from the cities, like the city of Sydney, to Symbio Wildlife Park. So who knows what I'll find in Australia.